Chief Archaeologist Vixtel stood motionless before the crystalline display, her four primary eyes fixed on the impossible data scrolling before her. The dig site on Proxima VI had yielded something unprecedented. Technology that predated the oldest known civilizations, yet bore unmistakable signs of human design principles. "Run the analysis again," she commanded, her secondary eyes tracking the movements of her research team across the vast excavation chamber. The site had been discovered purely by accident during a routine survey of supposedly empty systems, but what they'd found defied everything the galactic archives taught about human civilization. Junior researcher Kelmuth approached cautiously, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with nervous energy. "Chief, we've confirmed the dating. These structures are at least 2.3 million years old, but the engineering, it's unmistakable. The quantum signature matches patterns we've observed in primitive human technology, just infinitely more refined." Vixtel's facial ridges contracted in concentration. The humans were supposed to be a young species, barely space-capable, still struggling with their first colonies on their red neighbor Mars. The Galactic Council had classified them as a Level 2 civilization, interesting enough to study from afar, but centuries away from joining the greater community. Yet here they were, standing in the midst of ruins that suggested something very different. "Show me the simple analysis," she ordered, her crystalline interface humming as it projected a new series of holograms. The walls of the ancient facility were covered in intricate patterns that had initially appeared decorative, but after weeks of study, her team had begun to recognize them as an incredibly sophisticated form of mathematical notation. "We've managed to decode another section," Kelmuth reported, manipulating the holographic display. "It appears to be some kind of genetic blueprint, but the complexity, it's unlike anything in our databases. The closest match is actually human DNA, but with entire sequences we've never seen before, sequences that appear to be dormant in modern humans." Vixtel felt her thoracic spines bristle with excitement and apprehension. In her 3 centuries of archaeological work, she'd never encountered anything like this. The implications were staggering and potentially dangerous. If she was right, the entire galactic understanding of human civilization was wrong. Before she could respond, her communication crystal pulsed with an urgent message. It was from another dig site, this one in the Andromeda Arm. Similar ruins had been discovered there, bearing the same impossible signatures, and another in the Carina sector, and the Orion Spur. "They're everywhere," she whispered, watching as more reports flooded in. An entire network of ancient facilities, all connected, all bearing human markers, all apparently waiting to be found at exactly this moment. Her research team gathered around as the reports continued to arrive. Facilities identical to the one they stood in had been discovered on hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. Each one contained technology that shouldn't exist. Each one bore the unmistakable signature of human engineering, and each one had apparently activated simultaneously after millions of years of dormancy. "Chief," one of her junior researchers called out, "you need to see this. The facilities, they're all orienting themselves toward Earth." The holographic display shifted to show a galactic map with lines of energy connecting each discovered facility. They formed a vast web, with Earth at its center. But more than that, they were beginning to pulse with increasing power. "Send word to the Council," Vixtel ordered, her voice tight with urgency. "Tell them." She paused, watching as new energy signatures began emanating from Earth itself. "Tell them we've been studying humanity's childhood paintings while ignoring the library of advanced physics texts on their shelves. The humans aren't primitive. They're ancient, and I think they're about to remember who they are." As if in response to her words, the facility's systems began to power up fully for the first time in millions of years. Dormant machinery hummed to life, and new symbols appeared on the walls, symbols that seemed to write themselves in light. "Chief," Kelmuth called out in alarm, "we're detecting massive energy surges from Earth. Something's happening to the humans themselves. Their dormant DNA sequences, they're activating." Vixtel moved to the central console, her hands flying over the controls as she attempted to make sense of the flood of data. The facility wasn't just a repository of ancient technology. It was part of a vast network designed to trigger something in human genetics, something that had been carefully hidden and preserved through millions of years of evolution. "Get me a secure link to Earth's observation post," she ordered, "and prepare for Emergency Protocol 7. If I'm right, we're about to witness the awakening of the galaxy's oldest living civilization." The facility's lights pulsed in harmony with the energy signatures now radiating from Earth. On screens throughout the chamber, they could see similar scenes playing out at dig sites across the galaxy. Millions of years of careful planning were coming to fruition, and humanity's carefully constructed facade of primitive development was about to shatter. All this time, Vixtel mused, watching as the energy web connecting Earth to the ancient facilities grew stronger. We thought we were watching them grow up, but they were watching us, guiding us, waiting for the right moment to remember who they really were. The implications were both thrilling and terrifying. If humans were indeed the progenitors of galactic civilization, if they had seeded the galaxy with life and guided the evolution of countless species, then their apparent primitive state must have been deliberately chosen. But why? And what would happen now that the mask was falling away? As if in answer to her unspoken questions, new symbols began appearing on the facility's walls, not in the ancient mathematical notation they'd been studying, but in modern galactic standard. "The children have grown. It is time for the teachers to return." The message repeated itself across every facility in the galaxy, a clear signal that humanity's long silence was coming to an end. The galaxy was about to meet its makers, and nothing would ever be the same. Dr. Maya Chen was having a very strange day. As head of genetic research at the Global Institute of Human Evolution, she was used to unusual phenomena. But nothing in her 20 years of experience had prepared her for what she was seeing in her laboratory. "It's happening everywhere," her colleague Dr. James Kumar reported, his usually calm voice trembling with excitement. "Tokyo, London, Buenos Aires. We're getting reports from every major city. Human DNA is changing." Maya studied the holographic display, showing live genetic data from volunteer subjects worldwide. The changes had started subtly: enhanced cellular regeneration, improved neural connectivity, the activation of previously dormant genetic sequences. But in the past 24 hours, things had accelerated dramatically. "Look at this," she said, highlighting a particular sequence. "This isn't mutation or evolution. These changes are too precise, too coordinated. It's as if..." She hesitated, aware of how impossible it sounded. "As if our DNA is remembering something." The laboratory's windows suddenly darkened as another unauthorized broadcast overtook the global communications network. The image of a young woman in Sao Paulo filled the screen. Security footage from a hospital. They watched in stunned silence as she walked through a quarantine ward, touching patient after patient infected with a deadly virus. Wherever her hands passed, infection markers disappeared from the medical monitors. "That's the 17th confirmed case of spontaneous healing abilities," James noted, adding the incident to their rapidly growing database. "And then there's this." He switched to footage from Moscow, where a group of teenagers had been documented communicating telepathically, their brainwave patterns synchronized in ways that defied current understanding of neural science. Before Maya could respond, the laboratory's security system chimed. "Dr. Chen," the AI announced, "you have visitors." The laboratory doors slid open to reveal a group of beings Maya had only seen in classified government briefings, four-eyed, scaled, and dressed in what appeared to be crystalline environmental suits, representatives of the Galactic Council. "Dr. Chen." The leader stepped forward, its translator converting alien speech patterns into English. "I am Chief Archaeologist Vixtel. We need to discuss what's happening to your species." Maya straightened, her scientific curiosity overriding her shock at the alien presence. "You know what's causing these changes?" "Not exactly," Vixtel replied, moving to the genetic displays. But we found something. Something that suggests humanity's current state isn't what it appears to be. The alien archaeologist interfaced with the laboratory systems, bringing up new data. These facilities we've discovered across the galaxy. They're not just ancient technology. They're activation keys, designed to trigger something hidden within human DNA. James leaned forward, studying the new data. Hidden by whom? By you, Vixtall answered simply, or rather, by your ancestors. The original humans, who seeded the galaxy with life billions of years ago. The laboratory fell silent as the implications sank in. Maya's mind raced through the possibilities, connecting dots she'd never even known existed. The junk DNA, she whispered. All those sequences we thought were leftover evolutionary artifacts are actually compressed data storage. Vixtall confirmed. Your entire species has been carrying the backup drive of an advanced civilization in your genes, waiting for the right moment to restore it. As if to emphasize the point, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Maya rushed to her main console, watching as new data poured in. The changes are accelerating. We're seeing activation of these dormant sequences in nearly 30% of the global population now. And that's just the beginning, Vixtall added, all four eyes fixed on the displays. The network of ancient facilities is strengthening. Soon, every human on Earth will begin to remember who they really are. But why? James demanded. Why would an advanced civilization deliberately devolve itself? Why hide among the stars like this? Vixtall's translator took a moment to process the complex response. We found references in the facilities to something called the Great Sleep. Apparently, your civilization faced a choice: fight a war that would have devastated the galaxy, or withdraw and allow younger species to develop naturally. They chose to forget, Maya realized, to become primitive again and watch over their creation from the shadows. She looked at her own hands, wondering what other abilities lay dormant in her genes, waiting to be remembered. The laboratory's screen suddenly flickered, showing scenes from around the world. A child in Kenya drawing water from the air with a gesture. A fisherman in Norway communicating with marine life. A doctor in Thailand seeing through her patient's skin to diagnose illness directly. Your people didn't just seed the galaxy with life, Vixtall explained. You guided it, shaped it. Every species in the Galactic Council carries traces of your influence in their genes. We're all, in a very real sense, your children. Maya's computer chimed with new alerts. The dormant sequences were activating faster now, spreading like a benevolent virus through the human population. With each activation, more people began to remember, not specific memories, but knowledge, abilities, understanding that had been locked away for millions of years. The Great Sleep is ending, Vixtall observed. The question is, what will humanity do with its recovered power? Will you reclaim your place as the galaxy's elder race, or has your time among the stars, watching your children grow, taught you a different path? Outside the laboratory windows, the sky had taken on a strange iridescence as ancient orbital systems, hidden beneath centuries of cosmic dust, began to power up. Humanity's long night was ending, and the dawn promised to change everything. The Himalayan facility was unlike anything Admiral Sarah Martinez had ever seen. As Earth's newly appointed liaison to the Galactic Council, she stood in what appeared to be a control center that predated human civilization itself, or rather, what they had thought was human civilization. The architecture responds to our presence, Dr. Maya Chen observed, watching as dormant systems activated with each step they took. It's as if it recognizes us at a genetic level. The chamber they stood in stretched for kilometers under the mountain range, filled with technology that seemed to blur the line between physics and biology. Streams of light flowed through crystalline channels, like blood through veins, and the walls themselves appeared to breathe. Because it was built by us, Sarah replied, still struggling to accept that truth. Or rather, by who we used to be. Their alien guide, Chief Archaeologist Vixtall, interfaced with the central console. the air filled with holographic displays showing similar facilities awakening worldwide, under the Mariana Trench, beneath the Sahara, deep in the Amazon rainforest. Each one had been hidden in plain sight, protected by fields that had gently deflected human attention for millennia. "We're detecting active data streams," Vikstol announced. "The facilities are sharing information, reintegrating their networks, and—" The alien archaeologist paused, all four eyes widening. "They're connecting to human minds." Sarah felt it then, a gentle pressure at the edges of her consciousness, like remembering a dream. Around the chamber, both humans and aliens watched in awe as new information began flowing through the facility's displays, not from ancient databases, but from the awakening memories of humanity itself. "The genetic locks are fully disengaging," Maya reported, studying her instruments. "The dormant sequences in human DNA aren't just activating. They're unpacking stored data, billions of years of knowledge preserved in our own genes." The displays showed scenes from Earth's distant past, a time when humans had walked among the stars not as newcomers, but as architects. They watched as their ancestors seeded worlds with life, guided evolution, and built the foundations of what would become galactic civilization. There, Vikstol pointed to a particular sequence. "The Great Sleep, the moment your civilization chose to step back." The images shifted, showing a galaxy in crisis. A threat had emerged, something that could have destroyed everything. The ancient humans had faced a choice: fight a war that would have devastated countless worlds, or implement a radical solution. They chose to hide in plain sight. Sarah understood, watching as the ancient humans systematically deactivated their advanced technology, compressed their knowledge into genetic storage, and began the long process of forgetting. They became primitive again, knowing they would slowly rebuild, while watching over the younger races. More than that, Maya added, her eyes fixed on the genetic data streaming past. They split their consciousness. The active part lived as primitive humans, unaware of their true nature, but the dormant part, the sleeping part, continued to guide and protect. New displays activated, showing how the sleeping human consciousness had subtly influenced the development of countless species. A suggestion here, a gentle genetic nudge there, helping life flourish across the galaxy while maintaining the illusion of natural evolution. "The question is," Sarah said, turning to their alien guest, "why wake us now? What triggered the end of the Great Sleep?" Vikstol's translator took a moment to process the complex response. The facilities contain references to a cycle, a time when the sleeping guardians would need to awaken. "We believe." The alien archaeologist hesitated. "We believe it's because the ancient threat is returning." As if in response to those words, new alerts began flooding the facility systems. Deep space sensors, dormant for millions of years, were reactivating. They showed something massive approaching from intergalactic space, something that had last been seen when humanity was at its height. That's why the activation spread so quickly, Maya realized. Our ancestors knew we would need time to remember, to reintegrate our knowledge before it arrived. Sarah moved to a central platform that seemed to call to her. As she stepped onto it, interfaces she somehow recognized despite never seeing before materialized around her. The facility recognized her authority, not her current rank, but something far deeper, coded into her genes. "Show me the threat," she commanded, and the facility responded. The holographic displays shifted, revealing something that defied conventional physics. A vast network of interconnected intelligences, moving between galaxies like a cosmic web of predatory hunger. "The Devourers," Vikstol whispered, the translator struggling to convey the ancient name. "Your people fought them before, drove them back to the space between galaxies. But you knew they would return. And we knew the younger races wouldn't be ready to face them alone," Sarah added, understanding flowing through her as more of the ancient knowledge integrated itself. "That's why we didn't just hide. We prepared. Every facility, every subtle manipulation of evolution, Every piece of technology we left dormant. It was all to prepare for this moment. The chamber hummed with power as more systems came online. Around the world, other facilities were doing the same, forming a planetary defense network that had been hiding under their feet all along. And in orbit, ancient satellites were shedding their disguises, revealing technology that made current human spacecraft look like stone tools. We have 6 months before they reach the galaxy's edge, Maya calculated, reading data that would have been incomprehensible to her just days ago. Will it be enough time to remember everything we need to know? Sarah felt the weight of history, both lived and forgotten, pressing down on her. Humanity had chosen to sleep so that other species could grow, develop, and find their own path to the stars. But they had never abandoned their role as guardians. The Great Sleep had been both an act of preservation and preparation. We don't have to remember everything, she realized, watching as more humans around the world began accessing their dormant knowledge. We just have to remember enough. Enough to stand with our children against the darkness. Vixtel moved to a secondary console, interfacing with the Galactic Council's networks. The other races, your children, they need to know, to understand what's coming and why their ancient guardians are awakening. Sarah nodded, feeling the facility's power flowing through her, connecting her to similar awakening humans worldwide. They had been primitive by choice, growing up again alongside the species they had seeded among the stars. But now it was time to remember, to awaken, to stand once more as the galaxy's elder race. Send word to the Council, she commanded, her voice carrying an authority that came from millions of years of sleeping knowledge. Tell them that humanity remembers, and we will honor our ancient duty. The children of the stars will not face the devourers alone. Above them, the Himalayan peaks glowed with awakening power, a beacon announcing to the galaxy that its long-sleeping guardians were finally returning. The Great Sleep was over, and humanity's true legacy was about to reshape everything. The Shanghai Awakening Center hummed with activity as thousands of newly activated humans struggled to integrate their ancient knowledge. Dr. James Kumar watched from an observation platform as people from all walks of life grappled with abilities that would have seemed godlike just weeks ago. Another surge in the European centers, his AI assistant reported. Estimated 43% of the global population has now achieved full genetic activation. Below, a teenager was learning to manipulate quantum fields with her bare hands, while nearby, an elderly man communicated telepathically with a group of alien scientists. The scene was repeated in centers across the globe as humanity raced to remember who they truly were before the devourers arrived. Dr. Kumar, a familiar voice called. He turned to see Admiral Sarah Martinez approaching, though she looked different now. Like many of the fully awakened, she seemed to glow with an inner light, her presence registering on multiple planes of existence simultaneously. Admiral, he acknowledged, or should I say High Guardian. I understand you've recovered that particular memory strand. Sarah smiled, but her eyes were troubled. The old titles aren't important. What matters is preparing for what's coming. How are they progressing? James gestured to his displays. Faster than we expected. The genetic memory transfer is accelerating as more people awaken. It's like humanity is remembering how to remember. They watched as a group of children demonstrated their newfound abilities, their games now involving manipulation of fundamental forces. What had once been hopscotch was now played across dimensions, their laughter echoing through multiple planes of reality. And the problems? Sarah asked, though her expression suggested she already knew. James sighed. Growing. Not everyone is handling the awakening well. Some are refusing activation entirely, claiming we're losing our humanity. Others, he paused, bringing up reports from around the world. Others want to reclaim our place as rulers of the galaxy immediately, arguing we've coddled the younger races long enough. The Council is concerned, Sarah admitted. They've accepted our role as the elder race, but they're worried about factions within humanity who might seek to dominate rather than protect. A commotion below drew their attention. A newly awakened man was arguing with the alien scientists, his voice carrying clearly to their platform. "We built all of this," he shouted, his awakened abilities making the air crackle with energy. "Every species out there exists because we designed them, guided them. They're our property." Before either James or Sarah could intervene, another voice cut through the tension. "We were never meant to be their masters." Maya Chen stepped forward, her own awakened presence radiating calm authority. In the weeks since the first activation, she had recovered more of the ancient knowledge than almost anyone else. "Our ancestors chose the Great Sleep not just to hide from the devourers," she continued, addressing both the angry man and everyone in the chamber. "They chose it because they saw two possible futures. In one, we remained awake, ruling over the younger races, shaping them to our will. Those races would never truly grow, never discover their own potential. They would forever be children, stunted by our dominance." The angry man's energy field flickered as her words struck home. Maya pressed on. "In the other future, the one our ancestors chose, we stepped back. We hid our power and our knowledge, becoming simple humans again. We let our children grow up without our shadow looming over them. Yes, we guided them subtly, protected them from the worst dangers, but we let them find their own paths to the stars. And now we're supposed to what?" the man demanded. "Pretend we're not superior." "Superior?" Maya laughed, but there was kindness in it. "Look at what the younger races have achieved on their own. The Artani developed psychic technology we never imagined. The Vextal created entirely new forms of faster-than-light travel. The Kith-Mary's bioengineering surpassed our own in several areas. They are not our property. They are our legacy, and they have grown beyond our expectations." Sarah stepped forward, her presence adding weight to Maya's words. "The devourers are coming, and they don't care about our claims of superiority. They consume entire galaxies, breaking down all life into energy for their endless hunger. We chose to sleep not because we were weak, but because we saw that unity would be needed to face them. Not the unity of masters and servants, but of equals." Around the chamber, both humans and aliens absorbed these words. The angry man's energy field gradually calmed as more of his ancient memories integrated, including the wisdom behind the choice for the Great Sleep. James watched as the tension dissolved, but he knew this scene was playing out differently in other centers around the world. Not everyone would accept the path of partnership over dominance. Already, there were reports of awakened humans going rogue, using their recovered abilities for personal gain or to settle old scores. "We need to accelerate the full memory integration," he told Sarah quietly. "The partial awakening is dangerous. People are recovering the power, but not the wisdom that should go with it." Sarah nodded grimly. "The devourers will reach the galaxy's edge in less than 5 months. We need humanity not just awakened, but united. The younger races are watching us, waiting to see if we'll be the guardians we once were, or if we'll become exactly what we fought against so long ago." Maya joined them on the platform, her expression troubled. "There's something else. The genetic updates are showing that the devourers have evolved since our last encounter. They've learned from their defeat. Our old strategies won't work this time." "Then we'll need new strategies," Sarah replied. "Ones that combine our recovered knowledge with everything the younger races have developed in our absence." She turned to James. "How long until the next wave of activations?" "Hours," he reported. "But there's something else you should see." He brought up new data showing energy patterns spreading through the galaxy. The younger races, some of them are starting to show signs of awakening too. Subtle changes in their own dormant DNA sequences. "Of course," Maya breathed. "We didn't just guide their evolution. We planted seeds of our own power within them, locked away until they were ready, until they were needed." Sarah stared at the data, understanding dawning in her ancient memories. The Great Sleep wasn't just about hiding or waiting. It was about creating something new. A galaxy where the power to fight the Devours wouldn't be concentrated in one elder race, but shared among all sentient beings. Below them, humans and aliens continued to work together, learning from each other as ancient knowledge mixed with new innovations. The future of the galaxy would not be determined by who ruled over whom, but by how well they could stand together against the coming darkness. "Our ancestors were right," Maya said softly. "Some lessons can only be learned by starting over, by growing up again alongside those we once guided." The chamber hummed with power as another wave of activations began, bringing humanity one step closer to fully remembering who they were, not just as an elder race, but as guardians who had chosen to sleep so that something greater could awaken. The Sol system had changed beyond recognition in the past 6 months. Ancient orbital platforms, hidden for millions of years, now formed a vast defensive network around Earth. The Moon's surface had transformed, revealing vast complexes of awakened technology. And Mars, humanity's first stumbling attempt at colonization, now served as the staging ground for the combined fleets of over 300 species. Admiral Sarah Martinez stood on the observation deck of humanity's first home, the massive space station that had once been disguised as an asteroid in Earth's orbit. Below her, the gathered ships of the Galactic Alliance prepared for the coming battle. Each vessel represented the unique technological achievements of its species, innovations that had developed during humanity's long sleep. "The Devours have crossed the galactic boundary," Dr. Maya Chen reported, her consciousness simultaneously present in multiple command centers across the galaxy. Like many fully awakened humans, she had learned to exist in several places at once, her mind spanning vast distances. "Show me," Sarah commanded, and the station's displays came alive with real-time data from the outer sensors. The Devours appeared as a vast web of dark energy, consuming everything in their path. Stars dimmed as they passed, their light and energy absorbed into the endless hunger of these ancient enemies. "They're different," Dr. James Kumar observed, his presence joining them from the Lunar Defense Center. "The pattern recognition algorithms confirm it. They've evolved new strategies, new ways of breaking down reality itself." Sarah nodded grimly. "As we knew they would. That's why the Great Sleep was never just about hiding." She turned to address the holographic representations of the Galactic Council members who had joined their conference. It was about preparing for this moment, in ways even we didn't fully understand until now. First speaker Vixtal, now representing the United Council, stepped forward. "The awakening spreads among our peoples, not as dramatic as humanity's return to power, but significant. The seeds you planted in our genes are blooming." The displays showed evidence of this transformation. Across the galaxy, the younger races were discovering abilities that had laid dormant in their DNA, gifts left by their ancient guardians. Each species manifested these powers differently, shaped by their unique evolution and innovations. "The Artanis' psychic abilities have quadrupled in strength," James reported. "The Vextal's quantum engineering is reaching levels that match our ancient records. And the Kithmeri." He paused, checking the data again. "They've developed a form of biological fusion we never even theorized." "Because they were meant to surpass us," Maya explained, her ancient memories now fully integrated. "Our ancestors didn't just guide evolution. They created the potential for something entirely new. The combined power of hundreds of species, each developing in their own way, but all connected by the fundamental patterns we wove into their genetics." A new alert drew their attention. The Devourer swarm had encountered the first line of defense, automated stations that humanity had left scattered through the outer reaches of space. The battle that ensued was unlike anything the younger races had ever witnessed. Reality itself seemed to twist as ancient human technology engaged with the cosmic predators. But something was different this time. Where once these defenses had fought alone, now they synchronized with the innovations of younger species. Artanis psychic shields merged with human quantum fields. Vextal engines powered weapons built from recovered human designs. Kithmeri bioships flowed through space like living mercury, their evolved forms enhanced by awakened human knowledge. This is what our ancestors saw, Sarah breathed, watching the battle unfold. Not just one elder race facing the darkness, but an entire galaxy of diverse species, each contributing their unique strengths. The Devourers reeled from this combined assault, their usual tactics disrupted by the unexpected synthesis of technologies and abilities. But they were far from defeated. The swarm regrouped, adapting, learning, their hunger driving them forward. All forces, Sarah commanded, her voice reaching every ship and station in the combined fleet. Prepare for primary engagement. Remember your training, both what you've learned and what your genes remember. The gathered ships moved into formation, but not in the rigid patterns of a traditional military force. They flowed like a living thing, each species' vessels taking positions that complemented their unique abilities. Humanity's recovered warships formed the backbone of the fleet, but they did not dominate it. Instead, they served as nexus points, amplifying and coordinating the diverse powers of their allies. The Devourers are accelerating, Maya reported. They've recognized the threat we pose. They're committing their full force to this attack. Sarah felt a moment of profound gratitude for the wisdom of her ancestors. They could have chosen to remain as rulers, keeping the younger races dependent on their power. Instead, they had hidden themselves away, allowing countless civilizations to grow, innovate, and develop their own strength. All units, she commanded, execute Operation New Dawn. Across the galaxy, ancient facilities hummed with power as they synchronized with newer technologies. The seeds of power that humanity had planted in their children's genes fully awakened, joining with their natural innovations to create something that had never existed before, a true synthesis of old and new. The Devourers struck like a tide of cosmic darkness, their hunger reaching out to consume everything in their path. But this time, they found not just one elder race standing against them, but hundreds of species, each wielding unique combinations of recovered human knowledge and their own innovations. Artani psychics linked minds across vast distances, coordinating defenses with impossible precision. Vextal ships phased through reality in ways that even ancient humans hadn't imagined. Kith-Mary bioships evolved in real time, adapting to each new Devourer strategy. And humanity, fully awakened at last, served not as commanders but as catalysts, their power amplifying and connecting the diverse abilities of their galactic children. "Look at them," Maya whispered, watching as the combined fleet engaged the enemy. Every species contributing something unique, something we never could have created on our own. "Because some things can only be discovered, not designed," Sarah replied, understanding at last the full scope of her ancestors' plan. The Great Sleep wasn't an end. It was a beginning. As the battle raged across the galaxy, it became clear that the Devourers faced something they had never encountered before. Not just the power of one elder race, but the combined strength and innovation of an entire galaxy of species, each evolved in their own way, each contributing their unique gifts to the defense of all life. The time of sleeping guardians was over. A new age was dawning, not one dominated by a single elder race, but one where countless species stood together, their diversity becoming their greatest strength against the darkness that threatened them all. The galaxy would never be the same, but then that had been the plan all along.